for it. Cool. So the only thing we're going to talk about today is component catalog. It's a spreadsheet that we made to keep track of our ELEC components in inventory. So that's going to do two things. It's going to influence what components we design with based off what we have on hand and what we've used in the past. And it's also going to allow us as leads to actually buy like the correct amount, because often we'll buy like extra components in case we like mess up when we're soldering. But if everyone's buying extra of the same components, then we have like twice as many components as we need, and it's a bit wasteful. So that's why we made this. But this is only going to keep track of components as of like probably late 2024. It's not going to include the whole like bin of like zip-locked like SMD components and stuff, because I don't want to sort through that. Yeah, cool. So I'll get into the actual spreadsheet itself. That's the wrong tab. Oh, it's this tab. So to find this one, it's in our Sailbot Google Drive, ELEC, and then it's just the ELEC component catalog. Don't worry about this one, that's going to come out later. But so that component catalog, it looks a little something like this. There's a little cutesy little instructions page. I'm not going to go over it. It probably won't give you enough information to know what to do from scratch, but it will give you an idea of what's going on. So I'm just going to run through the general vibe of things. We have a front end that keeps track of all of the components we have, the quantity we have available, some different metrics about them, kind of cute. Then we have orders input. So this is where leads are going to input the actual orders we make to DigiKey, so that way we know what we've ordered, what we have on hand. Looks a little something like that. You guys don't need to worry about how to input this or actually anything about this page. Just needs to know that it kind of exists. And then we also have requisitions, which are basically people saying, oh, for the data logger PCB, I need these components, and I'm going to reserve them so no one else uses these components, so I can actually use them. Yeah, so I'll go a little bit more into the specifics of how to actually use the sheet now. So let's suppose I'm making a PCB and I want to reserve some components. What you're going to have to do is make a new requisition. So that's Control-Shift-Alt-1. I put it in the instructions as to what that shortcut actually is. You're going to have to, the first time you do this, you're going to have to allow Google to do some funky stuff. It's okay. I'm not stealing your information, I promise. And then you're going to name the requisition sheet. Give it a useful name the first time because you can't rename it later. If you do, you'll break everything. So maybe I'll name it MPPT current sense PCB. Okay. And we'll get a new sheet that has a table that we can put information into. So what I can then do is, if I'm working on Altium or something, I can actually copy and paste my bill of materials into here, and it will automatically get filled out. Or if I'm doing things manually, I can also manually put in part numbers. I'm not going to do that because I have a bill of materials I can add. So an Altium bill of materials looks something like this, and you can just copy and paste the actual data into the spreadsheet, and it will automatically populate it. And then we can see here that it's automatically calculated how many we have left. Originally there was 10 of these ordered, but now there's only 7 because we reserved 3 of them. It will also tell you where you can find these components. So we'll give it some kind of descriptive name so you can actually find like this box. You don't have to search through all like 20 boxes of DigiKey components that we have. What else does it do? And then there's also going to be unknown part numbers if part numbers don't line up with things that we've already ordered. So for example, jumper, that's just like not a real part number. So of course you're not going to see that. Or this, that just means we haven't ordered this part number, or the part number you have on your Altium bill of materials doesn't line up with the part number that we've actually ordered, in which case you'd have to adjust this part number to actually get it to line up. A bunch of similar things for like this resistor as well is unknown because that's not a real part number as well. So you will have to do a little manual tweaking if you are copying and pasting a bill of materials in here. So what the real nice thing about this is now on the front end we can see that, oh, I've ordered 10 of these components, but there's only 7 of them available because there have been a total of 3 requested between these requisitions here. That's kind of the vibe. The other thing that you can do, the other thing I'll explain, is that this table here you can also sort and stuff. So if I'm looking to design a PCB and I want to find, oh, what resistors do we actually have, I can use the table function in Google Sheets and I can sort for resistors only. So I'll uncheck everything else. And now I have all the resistors there, and I can see, okay, if I want to design with a 10K resistor, we already have one of these available. So maybe I don't want to use that, but maybe this 10K resistor that we have 4 available, I might use that. Yes. What else do I need to explain?
You want to explain about those or faux pas?
Oh yeah, the faux pas. That's a good thing to explain. So, as I'm going through and I'm making a PCB and I'm soldering stuff and I'm bad at soldering, that's why we have this column here. So when you mess things up and you need like an extra capacitor or whatever, you just mark it down in here. You'll see it automatically subtracts from the quantity excess. So 1, 0. And that's not to shame people or be like, oh, you bad members, you broke a component. That's so we can keep track of how many we have left, but also so we can keep track of like how many we typically end up breaking of this component. So when we're making future orders, we know, okay, so for these 0201 resistors, we need to buy 50 extra of them. But for these 0603 resistors, we might only need to buy 1 extra of them. Yeah. Other thing I should probably explain is if it's 0 left, so that means that every single one that we've ordered has been requested. You should probably let us know, or we should probably order more, just in case someone like messes up, especially if it's like a resistor or something, and people solder it wrong, then we're going to be real screwed, because then we'll have -1 left. That being said as well, if I'm making a requisition, and I need, I actually need 11 of these, and I'm going to the negative, don't do that, because that just means that you're stealing a component that someone else needs. Make sure it gets ordered if you are in the negatives, so that other people aren't looking for stuff that doesn't exist. If that makes any sense. Anything else I should explain about this? Cool. So try and do your best to fill out this spreadsheet properly and not mess up all the formulas and stuff. A few things to watch out for. Don't rename these sheets. If I give this a bad name, don't rename it. The issue with that is that we'll no longer actually be able to track that spreadsheet in like the front end calculation of the quantity available, because there's some weird formulas that go through a bunch of listed spreadsheets that are made, and if you rename it, then it will no longer be linked and you'll have issues. Don't do that. Then the other thing is, once you're done with the project, you can just hide the sheet, and that way we just don't need to see it anymore, but it will still be calculated and everything. Other than that, the one suggestion I can give is when you're copying and pasting things, just press Control-Shift-V instead of Control-V, so that way you don't copy the gross formatting of Altium bill of materials. Yeah. Unless there's anything that I'm forgetting to mention. Does anyone have questions about this spreadsheet? If you do, please do ask them, because I think it's somewhat important that we accurately use this, so we don't have like missing components that people need, or we don't buy 2,000 extra resistors. Questions? Online peoples?